So I believe the Holy Spirit is giving me this visual of what it's been like with my relationship with God for like the longest time. Kind of this inflection point where I'm expecting His goodness to come in and change the way that I think so that I can actually move on, so that I can actually change my ways. Because the weakness in this position is it will be His goodness that gives me a new mindset. I'm waiting to be renewed in my mind in this way that is substantial. It's not something I can do for myself. And that's something that is very, very apparent in this weak position. Right. And I feel like when you wait on God, He will bring you to an inflection point, and you will have to stay in your weakness, stay in this place where you're not able to move on, and it will actually be faith that He builds, that He seems to grow in the dark concerning you, a person you don't see or recognize, leaving behind the familiar and going into the unknown with Him, where He's like, I got something for you. But for a time, you're going to be at this inflection point. You're going to be at this place that's going to feel like a standstill, right? You could even say this is the place that you're buried. This is the place that we are planted. But the extremely uncomfortable position to be feeling stuck there, where you're like, it will be your goodness that moves me on. Because that seems to be the order of things. Think of it like the wind blowing, the wind hitting sails in a sailboat. The way that the sailboat is going to move into a new direction is when the wind comes. The sailboat is relying upon the wind. Think of the wind being the goodness of God. So the goodness of God will then lead you to change the way that you think. I am in a very impoverished mindset place, a place that I can't get myself out of, a place that I don't even feel like I signed up for, but I inherited kind of this impoverished slave mentality. It was taught to me or something. But anyway, here's the visual. It's been for the longest time too. It's like God is saying, okay, there's a birthday party that I want you to drive to, right? There's this location where there's going to be this birthday party. All you have to do is bring the ice, right? This is your one thing to do. And the first time you do this, because this isn't like the first time you do this, you get the ice, you're all excited. You're like, wow, He's going to surprise me. This is great. Wow, He really sees me in this place. This is what I need, because I've always felt like I had to come through for myself. Now He's showing me this new satisfaction, this fulfillment, this joy, knowing that He is the one that comes through for me. Wow, I'm going to see how much my dad cares. And then you get to this place, you get to this location. It seems like you're the first one there, but you're like, all right, that's no problem. And you just, you turn on, flip the switch and you check your phone. You're just like, is this the right place? You're checking your coordinates, your GPS or whatever. And He's like, yeah, no, this is the right place. And there's just like one chair, like in the middle of like just a big room, right? And you can hear the echo as you carry this bag of ice to this one table that's like right there. And He's like, just wait on me. And you're just like, okay. Still optimistic, right? Still feeling like, okay, well, I won't be waiting that long. This ice will melt. And here's the deal. The ice does melt. And then consider yourself in a visual montage of doing this over and over and over, where the times in between you going to this location where it feels like it's going to be your surprise party or your party or whatever, it's just this visual of you bringing ice there. The room is empty, and then you get disappointed. The ice melts. You leave the building. You pour the water out, and then you go. And then you're waiting to get back to this place. Is just like you're in a pressure chamber, right? Just remaining is like everything. It's so difficult for you to do. So for you to even have your hopes up a little bit that you could be leaving that high pressure situation, that place in the desert, to finally be able to have a drink, right? Be able to quench your thirst is everything to you. And so the more that you are led up and this build up of Him coming through for you, Him showing up for you, right? Him doing what he said he would do. You entering into a room that's already prepared for you. You entering into a place that has a table and there's already things at the table for you, right? This is what you've come to long for. This is what you've come to long for in this inflection point, this waiting on him. Because before this place, you never had to wait on anyone. And you've been met with nothing but disappointment in your life, either from other people or yourself. You just feel like disappointment has followed you. And you're just like, well, I'm not going to wait on anyone because I'm not going to feel that again. I'm not going to feel that again. And God seems to be the one that comes into that place where it hurts the most, and he just kicks it up a notch. Right, he starts to poke at it in a very, very deep place. And you're just like, why do you keep bringing me back to this place, telling me to bring ice, saying there's going to be a party here for me, right? Saying it's going to be worth it. I get here, I sit in the same chair, I wait like 2 hours or whatever. The ice melts. I feel disappointed and crushed. But it's not like the first time where I showed up and I felt disappointed and crushed. It's like the 10th time, and then the 100th time, and then the 1000th time, right? So much so where you're used to being disappointed. And so where you used to like the first time you would walk into this room, you're just like, your head is held high. The 100th time you walk into this room, you're just dragging the ice on the floor, and you're just like I'm expecting to be disappointed. And it seems like the room has only gotten bigger and bigger, but it's more empty. And you're like trained in this way, in this impoverished mindset, to believe that the bigger the room, the emptier the room, the bigger the letdown is going to be. And that has been what it has been. And it seems like the more you were let down, the more you were in this montage of bringing the ice to the birthday party and being the sad boy at the birthday party, as you find that no one showed up for you and the ice melts. The room seems to get bigger each time you go to this place. And the bigger the room, the greater the disappointment. And he's just like, no, I'm going to show up for you. No, I'm going to show up for you. And then it's just like, well, it wasn't that time. It wasn't the time that I thought it was going to be the time. And then you feel like there's a new day on the calendar that's marked, and you're just like, all right, whatever, man. Like, I got nothing else to do. I have nothing here. So like, yeah, I'm going to show up again. Of course I am. I'm basically just like homeless, right? And so there's nowhere else for me to go except for whatever building you tell me to go to, where you say, all right, you show up here. This is where your party is going to be. You see, you have to have this birthday party to move on, because you're just wandering around in the desert. And so you just like, you have to have this place. You have to see him come through for you to be able to move on. There's something that has to occur in your understanding for you to actually go to a new place. This is what I know about myself. I'm waiting on you, not to just provide financially so I can get to a new place physically, but I need you to provide in a substantial, understanding kind of way, that you really do care about me, that you really are for me. So much so that I see that goodness that then changes the way I think about you, think about myself, think about my life, because it has felt like nothing but disappointment. You're telling me to show up to places. You tell me to bring the ice. I bring the ice melts. I pour out the once was ice water on the street, and I go back to wandering around in the desert. You say, no, okay, here's another calendar date for you. Boom, boom, boom. And you feel stupid for constantly like feeling set up in this way to only be disappointed. And you're mad at God, and you're mad at God for being mad at God, because you're mad at yourself for even showing up to this place. But then you understand, like, you really don't have any other choices. You're like between a rock and a hard place. Like, the only way forward for you is to see that he shows up for you. And so you will do what he says. You show up to this place where it feels like it's your birthday. Right? For some reason, the wind blows and the sail gets you back to that location. You check your phone. You're like, yeah, he said this is the right place. This is the coordinates. This is the GPS. This is the location. You walk in. You're like, oh, well, of course not. Not this time. Not this time. Not any time. But I'm going to keep doing this forever, because there's no going back to anything. And there's no going forward. And when I say there's no going back to anything, there's no going back to a life where you are fulfilled within yourself. because there was a time for me where what I did was I tried to find satisfaction. There was temporary satisfaction in filling the room myself. And this ultimately, I feel, is what the world teaches you to do, or what the world being the person in darkness, believing he's an orphan, believing she's an orphan, saying you must go and get this for yourself, prove it to yourself, and then that's where you will find satisfaction. Fill the room for yourself, and that's where you will find joy and satisfaction. But God comes in, judges that mindset, and says something, I have something better for you. He starts to have you hope in something that you've never seen before. Right? And in doing that, you die to everything that you found satisfaction in before. And so there is no other place for you to go than to show up to this same building or a different building each time, and with your ice. And then you open the door, you turn on the light, and it's just this big empty room. And you just there's the chair, there's the table. I'm going to put the ice on the table, and I'm going to sit in the chair until the ice melts, and then I'm going to leave. Right? But I'm going to come back. I know I'm going to come back because there's no place forward than this. Like my joy, my satisfaction, my reference point of trust, everything has been shifted to rely upon him. Him coming through for me is my life. He is my life. I can't do this without him. I can't go anywhere without him. I can no longer distract myself by trying to throw my own birthday party. I can no longer distract myself with believing that I can find satisfaction in the work of my hands, what I can do for myself. And so I'm automatically excluded from this previous life that I had. This old life has died, but this new life doesn't seem to be there, right? And there's this inflection point in the middle where you are this sad boy at your birthday party, and you're like, look, God, I don't need you to have this big room. It's like you're the one that's doing all these theatrics. Like, I'll just meet you at a park. I just want to see that you come through for me. I need to see that you're there. I need to see that you care. And you don't have to do all these things that you say that you're going to do. And I feel like it's just like, no, we're going to wait long enough because I got something really big for you. And you're like, the bigger this is, the more I'm going to be disappointed. The more empty the room, the more room for disappointment. Right? And I'm just like, look, you don't have to do all this. You're mad at him. You're mad at yourself because you keep feeling like you're just tricked into going to this place where you're just more and more disappointed. That's where I've been at with God. That is a visual for you, maybe of where you are with God, where it's like this frustration that almost just becomes like a silent suffering as you're just like, well, shit, I don't have anything else to do anyway. I don't have anything else. Like, this is it for me. And going back to the verse in the Bible that says it's his goodness, the goodness of God that will lead you to repentance. It's the goodness of God, because this is what I feel like he is showing me. This is the inflection point. I can't move on. I can't go from glory to glory without some of his power, without more of his power. The sailboat is not going in any direction until he brings the wind, and the wind will be his goodness demonstrated. See, faith is going to be like in the pressure cooker, but eventually it has to become something. It has to produce, it has to manifest something. Otherwise, there's no actual, I don't think, moving on of anything. And that's where I feel like I've been in for the longest time, just in this inflection point. And the more you show up to this place with your ice, feeling like it's your party, it's your birthday or whatever, and someone recognized you, someone remembered you, someone thought something out, and then you see an empty room, you're just more disappointed. You're just like, damn. And then the room just gets bigger and bigger, and you're just like, there's just more and more disappointment. And I feel like the Lord's just like, no, it's just a bigger room for me to fill when it is time. Keep showing up to this room. And I'm just like, fuck, you're making it worse. You're making it worse. I would have settled with like a 10 by 10 shack. If you would just meet me in this 10 by 10 shack, it doesn't have to be this big room. And now I show up, and every time there's more empty space. And that space being filled with what you say is going to be your goodness, but in the interim, it's filled with more disappointment. The more this is built up, the more I feel disappointed. The more I can't leave that place. The more I'm in this cycle of looking at myself and believing these accusations that come against me, that where I feel so impoverished and I feel like an orphan. I'm like, I don't know if he will come through for me. But this is where we are.